first judge in America was in the 1700s. It was black. Never heard that before. When was the first person voted into Congress that was black?
These guys right there.
Love this.
These guys right there.
So here we have, that's the first colored senator and representatives in the 41st and 42nd Congress of the United States. Year 1870. So right after, these men are elected to go to the Senate. And yet, we don't know that.
Well, these guys right here, that's your first black U.S. Senator, Hiram Rhodes Rebels. He is a gospel minister. He helped form 2 black regiments in the Civil War. He was actually sent by his denomination to preach to slaves all over the South particularly. And so he's your first black senator. And you move across folks here, and you got Benjamin Turner and Josiah Walls. And this guy over here is Joseph Hayne Rainey. And Joseph Hayne Rainey, by the way, is the first black man to preside over the U.S. House, presided as Speaker over the House for a period of time. And you would think that might be worth mentioning.
Yeah, once in a while.
This guy right here, Robert Brown Elliott, he actually spoke 4 languages, one of the most intelligent. And by the way, something to point out, all these guys are Republicans, by the way. You'll never hear that as well. These guys are Republicans. First 23 blacks elected to office in Congress were Republicans. Actually, in Texas, the first 41 blacks elected to office in Texas were Republicans, the first 190 in South Carolina, the first 112 in Mississippi, the first 99 in Alabama, the first 127 in Louisiana, all Republicans. And by the way, all Southern Republican parties started by blacks, not whites. In Texas, the Republican Party was started the 4th of July, 1867, by 150 blacks and 20 whites. You'll never get that in a history book at all, ever. But these guys here, and by the way, part of this, just for grins, this is a document from Robert Brown Elliott, and that is this man right here. And after they came back in at the end of the Civil War, Alexander Stephens, who had been the Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, as Vice President of the Confederacy, gave a speech called "Slavery is the Cornerstone of the Confederacy," and talked about how that's the only proper role for blacks is slavery. So he got in a long debate with him, and he cleaned the floor with Alexander Stephens. Only thing Stephens could say was, somebody must have wrote the speech for him because he's not that smart. That's your comeback. Come on.
You know what? That sounds like a few candidates now, the kind of comebacks.
And here, this is a Robert DeLarge over here. So, you know, these are documents from...
How many of those guys were preachers before they became?
You know, several of them started out that way and they went different professions.
But I know Booker T. Washington made a big point of, don't go into the ministry.
That's right.
Don't go into the ministry.
And that's where so many blacks go. Yeah. So what happened with these guys, as I recall, let's see, you had 3 university presidents. The first 23, you have 3 university presidents, 8 state legislators. You had 7 teachers. I mean, their professions were very, very varied. And so they were significant.
So how did we lose all of this, Dave?
Well,
where did we go wrong?
Let me take you one step further while we're on this. I'm going to take you from blacks being Republicans to this little poster right here. Can you see up top? Have you seen this?
No, but I've seen ones like this. What happened when the Republican Party was in power of Alabama? The above is a photograph of the Alabama legislature, 1872, when the Republican Party was in power. The Negroes in the above picture were members of the legislature.
So you've got this right here.
If you're willing to risk a Republican and Negro legislature in Alabama, like the legislature of 1872, vote for Herbert Hoover. If you believe in white supremacy, vote a straight Democratic ticket. I want this on a T-shirt. This is unbelievable. Restore the Negro to a full part in Alabama politics is what Herbert Hoover has pledged himself. Negroes have shown that they were in controlling the influence of the Alabama legislature. Wow.
Now, while we're there, do that little piece.
Yeah, this is amazing. You can see if you can get the camera. You can see if you can get this. This is amazing. This is Theodore Roosevelt, and this Booker T, isn't it?
Booker T. Washington.
And Booker T. Washington here. This is, and what does it say on the tablecloth? It says equality. This
started riots.
Started riots.
You can't have a black at the White House. What are you thinking? Oh, absolutely. And yet, there's a Republican president who did exactly that, and the Democrats went through the roof.
Look at that.
That's one of the most visceral pieces of political memorabilia in American history. That thing started, and then
Probably at the time was hated as a Reagan Bush.
Now see this one? This goes right in that time, same era as well.
Who's a Democrat?
Now, it's not a question, it's a statement. See the exclamation point?
Oh, who's a Democrat?
And the only writing you have
is lynch two more in Florida.
Robert and Charles Smoke had been lynched by Democrats in Florida. This is 1932 presidential election. Said, guys, remember, the Democrats are the ones who started the Klan. They're the ones who've lynched 4,800 people. Remember what a Democrat is.
Prepared by the Color Division of the Republican National Committee, Chicago, Illinois.
And remember that at that point in time, the Republican Party was largely a black party. It was not an outreach to the Republican Party.
Never hear this. Never, ever hear any of this.
The reason you don't hear this, and that's the question you asked a minute ago.
Oh, don't pick it up. Oh, man, I hate this guy.
That's the reason you don't hear this.
Woodrow Wilson.
Here, right here. This is the reason. And see what happened.
The history of the American people, such evil stuff.
Woodrow Wilson is a hardcore racist. When he comes in as president, he removes every black from the federal government except one, so he can have one black in the federal government. Removed everybody else from federal government. They're all gone. He shows the first film at the White House. You know this one?
Yep.
There you go.
Birth of a Nation, D.W. Griffith's mighty spectacle, and it glorifies the Klan. But if I'm not mistaken,
it came out of the book.
Here's
the trick. He was the president of Princeton University.
Yep.
And he's a great academic. Oh, he wrote a history. It is this book that led to this film.
Right. In this book, somebody took what he wrote in this book, they made a play out of it. Mm-hmm. The play was a success. They made a film, and the premiere of that film was at the White House.
There is one of the early programs for the films that went across America. And as it went across America, the Klan rode with it and sat outside the theaters.
Holy cow.
The Klan was part of it. And by the way, that's part of the election stuff too. The Klan was up on every election to make sure that we kept those blacks away from office. And this is the stuff that Woodrow Wilson's doing.
Oh my gosh.
This is the second revival of the Klan. Washington, D.C., they had Klan parades in which senators and representatives openly marched with the Klan. That's what Wilson brings in. Is the good. So in this kind of a history, the only good history is no black history. And that's why all the founding father blacks and all the great things from American history have disappeared and gone away.
Any idea why the sign here says enforcement of all laws?
No.
That's the sign they're carrying here. It says enforcement of all
not the
laws.
Klan. I don't know why they have
I'm wondering, which laws they wanted to be enforced.
That's curious.
This is why I hate Woodrow Wilson, because Woodrow Wilson is always top 5 best presidents of all time by every academic. He was an absolute nightmare and one of the biggest racists of the 20th century. Back in a minute.